All right, welcome to a special live edition of Cosmic Road. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please tell me what you guys are thinking tonight, what you are feeling. Are you up with the UFO news? Do you want to talk about the 60 Minutes piece? Now, this is pretty cool, guys. We have multiple high ranking people, generals, politicians talking about the mystery drones. This is huge. This is potentially really important because it could stimulate a response from the White House. President Trump put out that statement saying it was all FAA approved vehicles for research and other purposes. Whatever those other purposes are, we still don't know. I would love to know. But we have people like retired General Mark Kelly here talking about the mystery drones with great seriousness, talking about how we need a permanent, unified body to look into this sort of issue. Like a UFO czar or a select committee, some sort of permanent body within the government, some apparatus that would investigate UFOs and mystery drones, or maybe they're one and the same. So a really significant 60 Minutes piece. We also have Senator Wicker, who is on who's the chairman, I believe, of the Senate Armed Services Committee, again, talking with great seriousness about the mystery drones. So really great stuff. I'm so happy that 60 Minutes is covering this. I think it could lead to important things. Like I just said, I think that potentially reporters can now ask the president about this, or at least his spokesperson, spokeswoman, because they will have this to give it legitimacy. They're not going to be a UFO crackpot wearing a tinfoil hat. This is on 60 Minutes. So now they have permission from the mainstream to ask questions about this. I think that's amazing. Hey guys, thank you for joining me. Yeah, this is kind of a spur of the minute thing. I didn't put a lot of planning into this. So let me know what you guys want to talk about. But I am super jazzed by this 60 Minutes piece. As Ross Coulthart says, so drones the size of a small car are buzzing sensitive U.S. national security sites. We don't know where they're from, and they're not hobbyists, says General Glenn Van Herk. And I think he was also in the 60 Minutes piece. By any measure, this is a serious national security failure. Yet the White House issues the dubious claim that these are FAA authorized research drones. Who is lying and why? Great question, Ross. And we have this article from ABC. Let me share this. How the U.S. is confronting the threat posed by drones swarming sensitive national security sites. Last month, the head of NORAD and NORTHCOM, the military commands that defend North America, told Congress some of those mysterious drones seen flying inside the United States may indeed have been spying. He did not say for whom. 60 Minutes has been looking into a series of eerily similar incidents going back years, including those attention-getting flyovers in New Jersey recently. In each, drones first appeared over restricted military or civilian sites, coming and going, often literally under the radar. The wake-up call came just over a year ago when drones invaded the skies above Langley Air Force Base in Virginia over 17 nights, forcing the relocation of our most advanced fighter jets. Our story starts with an eyewitness and an iPhone, and this is just basically reading. This is basically a transcript of the 60 Minutes piece, since that's how the 60 Minutes piece opens as well. But yeah, so isn't that incredible that the mystery drones not just interfered with the airspace over Langley Air Force Base, but forced the relocation of those fighter planes? That's insane. That can't be a foreign actor. That makes no sense. It also makes no sense for it to be a research drone. You're right. So this is either some rogue element within the UFO control group doing this for, God knows what reason, maybe, do what we say or else. But even that really kind of fails under scrutiny because this is a worldwide phenomenon, shutting down airports. I think there was airport shutdowns in India and Turkey, China, just all over the place. And it's just nuts. So it doesn't make any sense for the UFO control group, in my mind, to be shutting down airports in India and Turkey. And if one of those is incorrect, let me know in the comments below. But I think it has interfered with airspace in both places as well as others. So I don't think this is the UFO control group doing this. I think this is UFOs doing this. Now, the one thing that really makes me question that is how all of this got rolled out in the first place in Colorado a few years ago. In 2019 and 2020, all this began at a very low level, like testing new technology, which seems more human to me. So I'm still divided as to whether or not this could be human or UFO. But the fact that this is global, the fact that the government is lying about this blatantly, not even good lies anymore, FAA approved craft. Come on, right? It really makes me think we're dealing with UFOs, but, let me know what you guys think. But hey, guys, hey, Dana from Wisconsin. Hey, DJ Moon. Hey, Dennis, how's it going? Yeah, happy Sunday. Question: at what altitude does the vacuum of space start sucking? I don't know, guys. I'll let you physics guys answer that one. Pete Mitchell says Greer started out with good intentions and got lots of information out. He talked about some stuff in the 90s, which are getting some confirmation these days. He also brought witnesses forward. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I give Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, a lot of grief because he totally deserves it for spreading disinformation to a mass audience who largely believe him. So frustrating that many people are being indoctrinated with his lies. It's so frustrating. But he has done a lot of good for the UFO community. He has staged, mock UFO disclosure events with, and not even mock disclosure. I mean, if you take his panelists seriously, that's UFO disclosure. These are really credible people, credentialed people in those disclosure events. And they had amazing information that they were able to bring forward. UFO whistleblowers, incredible stuff. And Stephen Greer has popularized the idea of human initiated contact with the phenomenon. I think that's huge. And that could be the real game changer in UFO disclosure is us initiating contact with the beyond. I've done that multiple times. My UFO group does that a few times a year, and we've had success every single time. That's not to say everybody will have success every single time. We may have just gotten lucky. Also, it didn't hurt that I asked my Reiki instructor to lead the charge, meditating and making contact. And I highly recommend that if you do see E5, if possible, to bring along somebody that's sensitive, that can see stuff and interact with stuff. I think that would be very helpful, and it would guide you toward having a positive experience. I'm not saying that the trend is negative, but I don't think it is. I think the trend is very positive or neutral. But just a heads up, if you can bring in somebody that has their third eye open, that can work with energies and see beings. Sounds woo woo and stuff, but it works. It works. But yeah, Greer has done some amazing stuff, and I will continue to give him grief for spreading disinformation about alien abductions because that's such a important topic. If what we know about the size of that phenomenon is correct, then we're talking about over 200 million people that are currently being affected by it right now. I don't want to say victims of it because our best information is that longtime experiencers have a favorable view of their experiences. That's from the Edgar Mitchell Foundation. I think it's like 80% positive. I don't want to be fearful of that, but it's definitely concerning that so many people are involved in the abduction phenomenon. In fact, we don't even call them abductees anymore. We call them contactees because many of them believe that they are active participants in what is going on. They are not passive victims. They are contactees. And I respect that a great deal. But still, with that staggering number of people involved in this, it's an important part of the UFO phenomenon. Some people have even gone as far as to say the abduction phenomenon is the UFO phenomenon. I wouldn't go that far. I think there's a lot more going on besides the abduction phenomenon, but clearly that's a vital part of the UFO phenomenon that the beings have put a lot of resources into. This is a vast, overwhelming program. People are abducted or taken throughout the year often. This is a generational thing. Anyway, it's a big deal. The abduction phenomenon is an important deal. And if we're ever, I don't think it is the UFO phenomenon, but it's clearly important to the UFO phenomenon. In order for us to understand the phenomenon, we can't look away from one of the most critical parts of it, one of the most critical reasons why it seems to be here and interacting with us. So we're never going to understand it, and to go from there into a productive dialogue with it in a relationship with the phenomenon, if we can't understand it, if we're not looking at it with our eyes open. And that's what pisses me off so much about Greer, is that he wants to put blinders on people to that. I mean, dude, if you don't want to talk about abductions, I get it. It's probably not the best thing to lead with UFO disclosure. I totally agree. Start with the nuts and bolts stuff. Start with the UFO stuff. The crash retrievals, reverse engineering. Try to declassify some files. At a certain point, declassify Roswell. And then the questions are going to come up about the bodies, right? The biologics retrieved from those craft. And, just kind of proceed from there, right? I think that's how disclosure should probably go. Acclimate people to it, get information out, talk about older programs and crash retrievals, gradually talk about biologics, slowly open the door for some of the weirder stuff. But yeah, don't lead with alien abductions. I totally get that, but I don't think Greer should lie about it. And many people take him seriously and think that the abduction phenomenon is all the military, and that is clearly not what's going on. Although the UFO control group does assist in abductions, but the MyLabs are separate from the main abduction phenomenon. However, what's really weird is that there might be NHI involved in both aspects of it. But the MyLabs, the MyLabs, they are abducting people who are already abductees of the UFO phenomenon. MyLabs, they are interrogating contactees or abductees to find out what those guys, the original abductors, are doing, and specifically about their technology. The MyLabs is an intelligence gathering operation from the best evidence that I can find into the actual abduction phenomenon. There's more to it than that. And what's really weird is that NHI might be involved in MyLabs, but it's hard to know for sure because there's so much crossover and so much ambiguity in all of this. The MyLabs guys are using very similar technology in many cases than the original abducting races. So yeah, it's weird. It's hard to know what's what. But yeah, anyway, I didn't mean to go on a huge rant about it, but the abduction phenomenon is important and it's weird, and we need to know what's going on. Dennis says, check out Costa Macreus at ET Let's Talk to join a CE5 group. Yeah, Costa does these, I think, monthly contact, modality experiences. It encourages people to join him in this contact. Keith says, so Jack, why don't the people and the president realize that the stolen technology they have can defend our country from China and, of course, free energy? But if they let more scientists in, the faster, and I think your comment got cut off, but yeah, we definitely have alien technology or NHI technology. Don, you've got a great story. Pete says, I completely agree with the abduction disinformation. They are not all positive, and Greer pushes it hard. He really does, and that's what annoys me. If you don't want to talk about abductions, just don't talk about abductions. I agree. It's probably not the right foot to lead with disclosure. but don't push disinformation about it because people actually take Greer seriously. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. But yeah, here's a cool UFO video. This is a live news footage, and they capture what I think is a really great UFO.
Yeah, which is good news for skiers and so for drivers.
Wait for it.
If you look right now, you can see the Bellingham Tower cam showing that full moon that's out there. We have the eclipse.
Look at that.
In the evening.
Look at that.
It is now,
And I love how the camera pans with it.
Now we can see the
maybe the cameraman saw it and is intentionally panning with it. Got to be, right? He says, "What the hell is that? Let's follow that thing." But I don't know because it pans back to the guy, so maybe that was pre-planned. Either way, I think that's amazing footage. You know, it changes trajectory. It goes down and then it goes back up. So in my mind, that can't be a shooting star. That's not a bird. That's not a bug. That is, you know, that's a UFO. I don't think that can be explained by any mundane means. But let me know what you think about what I think is a great UFO sighting here in Bellingham. Where's Bellingham? Is that New Jersey? Where is Bellingham? Is that Virginia? Let me know where Bellingham is. Let's see. I want to get to some of your comments, guys. And if you want me to, I'm going to try to get to as many comments as I can. Sometimes I have problems getting to all of them. If you want me to for sure see your comment and reply to it, leave a super chat or a super thanks, because that will appear in bold on my screen. And I will definitely see it and respond to it. So yeah, I'm passing the bucket. Super chat, super thanks, but it also practically helps because I will see your comment in bold. So yeah, but I'm gonna try to get to as many of your comments as I can. Hey, Christopher, David Patrick Magic, I love that name. Dana says, Dana Scully, love it. Thank you. I'm on the website now. Are you on the 60 Minutes or the ABC? DJ Moon Child says, latest Josh McDowell interview. He says new bodies being unveiled soon, along with new scientific results. I saw that interview or part of it. I think I watched about half of it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Temenza says, only remotely convincing CE5 thing I've seen was some Minecraft YouTuber. There should definitely be more convincing videos if this was actually real, right? Well, there are. Go check out Peter Maxwell Slattery's footage, or Chris Bledsoe's footage, or John Bell from Real Florida UFO, who gets nightly UFO contact. Some people like to say it's satellites and bugs and birds. Guys, one of these things hit his multi-ton Army-style vehicle and rattled it. It's not a bird. Yeah, and yeah. Anyway, so yeah, those all of those guys get great contacts frequently. And, you know, Peter Maxwell Slattery does, you know, CE5. I think the other two just kind of go out and get stuff because it comes to them, but I'm not sure. I think Chris Bledsoe does intentional contact as well. Clinton Bailey says, hey, Jack, have you looked into Sir Eric Gary, Grenada's former, I can say that, former PM who took UFOs to the UN with Jacques Vallée and Hynek. He even put some UFOs on stamps. Cool. No, I didn't know about that. Wesley Bateman documented claims of his encounters. Cool. So not only is he a prime minister, he actually was an experiencer himself. That is cool. I've got to look into him. Sir Eric Gary. All right. I'm going to have to look into that. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. F Pug says, great question. I hadn't heard Greer say anything about it until now either. About the abduction. Yeah. Greer is frustrating because he's done a lot of good, but he's just such a, anyway, Sheila says, Greer is a great reminder, even once becoming advanced and conversant in a subject, to also stay humble and compassionate. I agree. And I really want to be nice to Greer, and because he's done so much good stuff. I don't have anything personally against Greer. I just have something personally against disinformation. And I want to understand the phenomenon and help in a small way. And, you know, I think we all are, is to have a productive relationship with the phenomenon. You know, I'm kind of looking past disclosure a little bit. Once we get disclosure, what do we do with it? Well, we need a productive relationship with the phenomenon, and we need to understand it. So, you know, got to have the blinders off. Have the blinders off. And yeah, and also it's possible that the phenomenon could have some splaining to do. You know what I mean? We may need to petition for better rights. I don't know, but I'm encouraged by the Edgar Mitchell Foundation's, the positive stuff. People having positive experiences with the contact experiences, but it's still concerning from the outside looking in. It's very concerning looking at those numbers. Sora Didical Bredix monitors. I totally said your name right. Man, sorry. Let's talk about Nest. They are a big part of this. I've been saying for years they were in Bob Lazar movie when they raided him in the Vegas incident. Nest. That is ringing a bell, but I'm not. It's not pulling anything up. Can you remind me what Nest is? Maybe some others will comment on it. Hey, Jumbles, how's it going? He says, Dadgummit, what did I miss? Man, you missed all the good stuff. We got all the good stuff covered. Now we're just in the other stuff. Sheila says, Washington. Okay, that's where Bellingham is, Washington. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I used to live in Oregon. I didn't see any UFOs when I was in Oregon. Of course, I wasn't into UFOs. But yeah, okay, let's go back to the 60 Minutes piece. Jonathan Butner, close around 7 o'clock, I would say, I started seeing these reddish orange flashing lights that were starting to come in from Virginia Beach. It began slowly, like one at a time. Jonathan Butner's close encounter with drones came on December 14th, 2023. He was at his family's cabin at the James River in Virginia. Excuse me. About 100 miles south of Washington, D.C., with a commanding view of several military installations across the water. Butner, they started really coming in almost like on a conveyor belt. Talking about the mystery drones. This is a transcription of the 60 Minutes piece. Bill Whitaker says, how many in total? I probably saw upwards of 40. That's insane. And it reminds me of the drones that were swarming that Coast Guard boat. They were estimating the numbers between a dozen and like 30. So these things come out in swarms. They talk about being swarmed by these drones. There's swarms of these things. It's crazy. He says, when I first saw that, I was like, those are going directly over Langley Air Force Base. Langley is one of the most critical air bases on the East Coast, home to dozens of F-22 Raptors, the most advanced stealth fighter jets ever built. Butner says from his perch, he has seen it all. I'm very familiar, he says, with all the different types of military craft. We have Blackhawks, we have F-22s, and these were like nothing I've ever seen. Butner took these iPhone videos of the objects coming and going for nearly an hour and a half. These are the only public videos of the drones over Langley. Okay, I think I've actually shared those before. It's cool that 60 Minutes is sharing them and seeming to authenticate them. So that's neat. Those were the real deal. I love it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Avies Z's Defiant Acre says Bellingham is in the Pacific Northwest in Northwest Washington. I live about 20 minutes from Bellingham. Yeah, I wish I had been into this stuff when I lived in Oregon. It'd be a great place to do CE5 or some Bigfoot hunting or watching, I guess. Chumble says 16.3. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is weirdly frozen, Chumbles. It really is. It is like suspiciously frozen, honestly. That is, yeah, I can't account for it. That doesn't, and it's a slow news time, but it ain't that slow. That's weird. Rob says Bellingham in Eggs is about 80 miles north of Seattle, 70 miles south of Vancouver. Awakening to Reality says, who blazing? Not me at the moment. AVZ says Bellingham is a college town at North Puget Sound. We'll see. A Seratical says Greer is right about free energy. Look into Kajaka. I think he has CIA connections and tried to intimidate people. They got close, like John and Lieutenant Bearden. Jumble says, I said that right. I said it right. I did, man. I totally did. Jackson says, big hello, everyone. Hello, Jackson. Sarah says, awakening to reality, me. Okay. Me too. Me too, Sarah. Me too. I'm slowly awakening to reality. It's been a slow wake up. Pete says, I saw something years ago about UFO stamps, making some sightings or landing, I think. Yep, that was cool about that prime minister who's also an experiencer. I've got to look into those experiences. Attorney to the Ebes. Are you Danny Sheehan? No, that would be the attorney to the whistleblowers. Jack, any info on the meeting between Lou and Don Jr.? No, but I would love to see it. I've been looking for more information on that. If you see it before I do, let me know. But yeah, Lou Elizondo, had a meeting with Don Trump Jr. And talking about UFO stuff. Don Jr. is interested in the subject and has previously asked his dad about it. And now Lou is talking to Don Jr. So hopefully that will encourage Don Jr. to push his dad a little bit on this issue, and maybe we'll get a little action there. I don't know. I'm more and more convinced that Trump has read into at least part of the program and now is obligated to lie about it. My major question about that is, if that's true, will he give the green light to declassify documents? Because that's all that's really required of him. Is if Anna Polina Luna's task force can bring him some documents to declassify about UFOs. Now, all he has to do is sign it, right? Executive order or whatever, declassify these documents, whatever he needs to do. So that's all we really need of him. So he may be obligated to lie about this stuff, just as Elon Musk probably is, and everybody else read into the program. But will he authorize the declassification of this stuff? That's all that we need of him. So I don't know if he's capable of doing that if he's read into the program. So we'll see. But yeah, about Lou talking to Don Jr., I would imagine that Lou is still lobbying to become a UFO czar. That's what he has been pushing for I don't know, the last 6 months or something. UFO czar kind of stuff, and I hope he gets it. Because I think he would be a good UFO czar. He has done more to push this forward than anybody. We wouldn't be in this position without Lou. If he hadn't come out of the closet in 2017 with those 3 videos and made the rounds all across, the news media and, TTSA and all that kind of stuff, we wouldn't be where we are now. And people say, hey, well, where are we? Well, we're actually pretty far along. We have politicians openly talking about UFOs without smirking now. We have politicians creating, task forces that were originally designed, like the task force, Anna Polina Luna's task force was originally designed just for UFOs. And then they glom some other stuff onto it. But it's got politicians engaged in it. We've got the UAP disclosure amendment passed a few years ago in the NDAA. Sure, in a neutered version, of course, but it got passed and signed into law. And hey, there's an example, the president signing something UFO related. So there is hope that Trump could do something. But yeah, we are so far along, and it all began because of Lou. So he would be a natural person to be UFO czar. I'd love it if David Grush could be UFO czar, or Jay Stratton, or any of those guys. I think it probably needs to be somebody like that that's part of the government at a certain level to get that kind of position. I don't think, somebody like Chris Bledsoe could do it, unfortunately. That'd be amazing. He could just stand up in front of the podium. The lady would come out, have a big press conference, right? Talk about disclosure. Wow. Daniel Simeon says, are you aware of Bashar's teachings about the upcoming open contact within the next 5 years? Yes, I've heard Bashar say lots of stuff about that. I don't, okay. Here 8. I'm trying to read all your comments here. 8, it looked like your comment was cut off, but yeah, Bashar has said we're going to enter an era of open contact. Others have said that as well. The lady has said that some major event is coming. I guess on Easter 2026 is when the date is supposed to be. Chris Bledsoe believes she might come out of a cliff in Utah, which would be amazing. If he really strongly believes that's coming, I'm getting my tent and I'm going out to Utah. Yeah, it's an area of a southeastern Utah, I believe, where they have a bunch of cliff dwellings. And if that's the area where she's going to come out of, it makes you wonder what those Native Americans were up to who built those cliffs. Were they connected to this stuff like, many other Native Americans seem to have been? And if she chooses that spot to come out, is that significant in any way because of the connection to those people and or what they were doing? Maybe they were tapped into the same kind of thing. Really interesting. JS says, "How can we join the psionics team?" I don't know. I'm not in touch with Jake Barber. Keith says, or I mean, I guess you could join any psionics team or start your own, right? Just to get a few like-minded people that have abilities together and go out and try to summon UFOs. If you can't, get it on camera. But go into it with love and light. Keith says, I think Greer is doing what he needs to do. You think he's giving bad info, but it's okay for the government to do it. No, it's not. He has to do a counter offense against those lying efforts. Back off Greer. Okay, well, I'm not going to back off Greer. He spreads disinformation to a mass audience on a very important topic. So I respect where you're coming from, Keith, and I do actually respect Greer. And I think it's unfortunate that he does spread disinformation about such an important topic to such a large audience that takes him seriously. But I will do what I can in my own small way to push back on that disinformation. I think that's my duty. It's nothing personal against Greer. I don't dislike him. It's not a beef I have with him, personally. It's just a beef I have against disinformation. DJ Moon. Oh, and by the way, if you want me to for sure see your comment, leave a super chat or a super thanks, because that will appear in bold on my screen and I will see your comment. DJ Moon says, Jack, do you think the McDowell's approach with the Nazca bodies is okay? The way they kind of insinuate that they think they may just be something newly discovered, like a platypus, and most likely not alien. Yeah, they, the McDowells, Dr. John McDowell and his son Josh, they are taking a very mainstream approach and they're trying to be accessible to the mainstream, which I totally understand. And I support that, I guess. If you just coming out saying, hey, it's aliens, then people are going to turn away, unfortunately. But if you come out saying, hey, this is an unknown specimen, we can't explain it, but here's the science behind it. Now go ahead, fun trying to explain us. Then people are going to take it more seriously. Oh, these are scientists. They're not trying to, preach to us. They're not trying to get us to buy any preconceived ideas. They're just presenting the science. And these are real specimens. I think that's where they're coming from. I don't know if that's what they actually believe. Dr. John McDowell, I showed that clip that I got a strike for. Thanks, guy that left me a strike for that. For saying, Dr. John McDowell saying, yeah, they're non-human. So he has said that. So I think that's what he believes, but that was kind of an off the cuff statement at an event. And, I think that publicly their official stance is going to be, these are unknown specimens and here's the science. And I get where they're coming from and why they're doing that. And I think they're trying to make this accessible to the mainstream. And then they're going to let people try to figure out what they are and how they came to be on their own. Draw your own conclusions. Here's the science. Draw your own conclusions. I get it. I would love it if they came out saying, hey, these are NHI. We've got bodies, y'all. We've got bodies of freaking NHI or hybrids. Here's the science supporting that. I would love it if they did that, but unfortunately that's not what they're doing. Damn it. But I understand why they're doing that. And I get your frustration if you're frustrated. I'm a little frustrated by that stance too. I'm tired of people playing it safe, but it is what it is. DJ Moon says, I think they do that just to get other legit scientists on board. Yeah, that's a big part of it too. Dana says, nope, small numbers here, but all very friendly. Okay, I missed something. Are you talking about C5? Sarah Maddie says, I had a sighting in Oregon and have a case with MUFON about it. A few weeks later, had a 4-fingered handprint in the snow in my yard. It was weird. Cool. So you feel like that was an inhuman handprint? Somebody left a handprint in the snow, NHI? That was really cool. Geraldine says, time to hit the like button. Heck yeah, Geraldine. That's a good point. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course the bell to be notified of future videos. Jackson says, anyone going to watch 60 Minutes on the handling of the UFOs flying around American military bases tonight? Absolutely. In fact, I have been covering that. Here is the transcript of the 60 Minutes special right here. General Mark Kelly says, our retired general, the reports were coming in 20 to 30 sightings, same time every evening from 30 to 45 minutes after sunset. Retired 4-star General Mark Kelly was the highest ranking officer at Langley to witness the swarm. And yeah, if you're just joining, there was a swarm of like 40 of these things, 30 or 40 of these mystery drones over Langley. And that's what we're talking about. And General Mark Kelly was the highest ranking officer at Langley to witness the swarm. A veteran fighter pilot, Kelly went up to the roof of the squadron headquarters for an unobstructed view of the airborne invaders. Bill Whitaker says, so what did you see? Well, what you saw was different sizes of incursions of aircraft. You saw different altitudes, different airspeeds. Some were rather loud. Some were near as loud. What was the smallest one? What was the largest one? The smallest, you're talking about a commercial-sized quadcopter. And the largest ones are probably size what I would call a bass boat or a small car. The size of a small car? Yeah. So, yeah, different sizes, different speeds, different noises they're making. So not a uniform swarm of objects. They're different from each other, making different noises, which is exactly what we've been seeing with the mystery drones. Some will sound like planes. Some will sound like very loud planes. Some normal planes. Some will sound like drones. Some will have no sound at all. Some don't give off any thermal signature, no heat. They can't shoot him down, or at least they're not admitting to shooting him down. Although supposedly they do have possession of one that crashed. I think one sat down at Langley and flew off, but another one crashed, I think at a different location, and it didn't fly off. They got it. But yeah, remind me if I got that backwards. But yeah, it's just amazing that this phenomenon has gone on as long as it has, and they're still obfuscating, lying their asses off about it. Yeah, it's just okay. I'm going to try to skip ahead to your comments because I know I'm like 20 minutes behind in all your comments. Again, if you want me to for sure see a comment, leave a super chat or super thanks. Or if you want to support, live streams like this in the future. Geraldine says, yes, Adam, Phoenix lights were all because of Greer. Yeah. Stephen Greer taking credit for the Phoenix lights. He did CE5 and summoned that mile-wide craft. He is really good at CE5, guys. He is really good at CE5. Oh, my God. UAP 369 says, Jack, I am filming like John Bill. Use anything I post. Would be amazing. Awesome. Well, please send those to me, and you can feel free to link to those in the daily roundup. Dusty says Phoenix sucks. I like Phoenix. I've only been there a couple times, but I liked it. Let's see. Although Arizona has a different style of Mexican food. I'm a Texan. I like Tex-Mex. People in Arizona and New Mexico and most places, they do Mexican food weird. They'll like put oregano and stuff, or just a whole bunch of cumin or chili powder. Very, very, very different from the way we do it in Texas. Let's see. Dusty says, pushing 10. Sarah says, I have photos and MUFON case number I can share with you. Timothy says, how old are you? 29. Sure. Don says, when is age of disclosure released? Somebody was giving a date and then it turned out to be wrong. So I'm not even going to bother predicting when the actual date is. The premiere has come out. People are talking about it, but we don't have an actual date. At least I haven't seen it. If anybody has seen a definitive, date when Age of Disclosure is coming out for real, please let us know. Let's see. Jackson says, I wish Gary Nolan would be part of the Nazca Mummies. Yeah, me too. Me too. He has forsworn the Nazca Mummies. The good news about Gary Nolan in the Nazca Mummies is that he has said, he is a virologist or whatever, immunologist, and he isn't qualified to study the Nazca Mummies. I think that's not entirely correct because he has studied the Atacama body and he was qualified apparently to study that. But he has said that what we need or who we need to study the Nazca mummies is Dr. John McDowell, who is an award-winning expert in forensic science. So we have exactly the person that we need studying the Nazca mummies that Gary Nolan says we should have. So it's, maybe not Gary Nolan, but it's Gary Nolan approved, Gary Nolan sanctioned research into the Nazca mummies. And Dr. John McDowell has said, yeah, these beings are legitimately tridactyl. They are, they aren't bodies that have been manipulated with fingers snipped off and stuff. These are NHI or hybrids. These are non-human specimens that are between 1,500 and 7,000 years old. He hasn't studied them all. I don't know how many he studied exactly, or even how many different types he studied, how many species he studied. Has he studied the little guys? I haven't seen any of that. Or the winged beings. I haven't seen any of his research into that. I've seen his research into Maria and the human-sized ones. But if you've seen any of his research into those other specimens, or for example, the giant hands that are 7,000 years old, link to that, please, because I would love to see that. But yeah, so Gary Nolan isn't doing it, but Gary Nolan approved Dr. John McDowell is doing it. And he has said off the cuff that they are not human and that they are legit. So yeah, we've got bodies, y'all. We've got bodies. Christopher Dixon said, I am seeing Greer's post on Facebook, but nothing about abductions. However, he seems convincing enough, despite him snubbing certain topics. Yeah, Greer. I mean, Greer has been around a long time. He's a smart guy. He knows a lot. I have good things to say about Greer in many cases, in many aspects. He's done a lot of good. He's done a lot of good. But he's also done some less great stuff. Yeah, but yeah, go listen to him talk about abductions, and you'll see him say that it's all the military, which is obviously BS. Especially when well, I mean, his narrative to start with is BS because he says it's to spread fear of the phenomenon. This has been going on for decades. It's a huge operation, hundreds of millions of people potentially involved in this over generations. Yeah, and who have a favorable view of their experiences overall. Not designed to sow fear way beyond the capacity of the government or any government. Even all governments combined could not do this at all without getting caught for the most part. I mean, maybe experiencers have a little scoop mark or some weird dreams or something like that. But overall, they're doing it without getting caught or noticed. Not something the government is capable of doing. Then the reason Greer gives to spread fear makes no sense because they are not spreading fear. Hell, they have their minds wiped. And when they do recover their memories, they have overall favorable impressions of their experiences. So his narrative breaks down under even the least bit of scrutiny. So yeah, I mean, Greer's narrative is total BS. If the control group wanted us to be afraid of aliens, they would get in their own UFOs and blow up a town or two. It would take them 10 minutes. And they might do it. I mean, that's the whole idea of Operation Bluebeam and the false flag alien threat, right? And it's something that Werner von Braun talked about, decades ago, essentially on his deathbed, was this idea of the false flag alien attack. He said, yeah, that's something they're going to do. Now, of course, it's been decades since then, and it hasn't happened. So was he wrong? Was he listening to some disinformation on the inside? Was he talking about a contingency plan that was on the table and that might still be on the table if the control group feels its power slipping? That's what I'm worried about, and I think that's possible. That's totally possible. Um, Jackson says, chilly back there. Stay warm. Some big storms here in Northern California. They'll be heading your way. Yeah, man. We had a hailstorm last night. First time we've had hail in a couple of years. Last time we had our roof replaced. So, yeah, that was before we bought the house though, and the previous owner put a terrible colored roof on it. Yeah, we were renting and then we bought. Let's see. Yeah, but we bought it like 1 month after they put on the ugly roof. So yeah, if the hail had been sufficient to put on a new roof, that'd be nice. But a roofer took a look at it today, not sufficient. Geraldine, Benny is 6 month old. He'll be 6 month old in 2 days. On Tuesday, he'll be 6 months, and he's making cute little noises. I think he's outside with my wife right now. But he's been making little screaming noises, and I've been like happy screaming noises, and he's a delight. He started to make raspberries like that, but now he's just started to eat solid food or pureed food, and he'll make raspberries while he's eating the pureed food, so it'll go everywhere. It's hilarious. Kill the Stigma podcast says, "Hello, Christian Morales here. Hey, Christian, how's it going?" Yeah, and I think Christian, you have a new podcast. Is that correct? So yeah, everybody go check out Christian's podcast, Kill the Stigma podcast. And he says we got bodies. We do, man. We've got bodies. Sarah says yes. Oh, talking about her experience with the alien handprints in the snow. She says I had enough time to gather up my family, and we all watched them. It was incredible, even though they looked just like stars. So, are these the ships whose beings came out to leave the handprints? I feel like I probably missed one of your posts, but that's amazing. Jackson says, "Do you think on 60 Minutes, the big question everyone wants to know, did the FAA tell the White House the drones are FAA authorized?" Yeah, LOL. Yeah, that's a great question. Did the White House come up with that BS line on their own? Did the control group tell them to say that? Did the FAA actually tell them that under pressure from the control group? What the what, right? So it's a great question. In the transcript and in the portion of the special that I've watched, I have not seen that addressed. I don't think they answered that. I don't think we know. But yet, getting back to the 60 Minutes piece, interviewer says, why don't we just shoot them down? General Glenn Van Herk, retired, says, well, first, you have to have the capability to detect, track, identify, make sure it's not a civilian airplane flying around. If you can do that, Bill, then it becomes a safety issue for the American public. Firing missiles in our homeland is not taken lightly. We're not able to track them. We're not able to see where they originate. No, it's the capability gap. Certainly, they can come and go from any direction. The FBI is looking at potential options, but they don't have an answer right now. Well, if they do, they're not telling us. Yeah, they've got some ideas, guys. They've got some ideas. If they don't, they're idiots. And we know the FBI has some part of it does UFO stuff. And there haven't been answers for similar encroachments for more than 5 years. That's right, because all this started in Colorado in 2019 or 2020 at a small scale compared to what we're seeing today, the mystery drones, which is really the main thing that I have, the main piece of evidence that it might be human. Is that it started in the small scale as if testing new technology or old technology. But it's so anomalous and so global, and they're lying about it consistently, just like UFOs. So I think we're dealing with an HI, but you never know. I just don't see a plausible scenario where it's anything other than NHI, unless it's the control group trying to take over the world, and they're like warning the world, the governments of the world, hey, we can encroach on your airspace and shut your airports down. Better just surrender to us, and we'll have a one world government under us. Wonderful, control group people, right? Unless it's that, then I think we're probably dealing with NHI. But let me know what you think. Rob says, is Tex-Mex sort of like a barbecue taste? No, but I have had chicken enchiladas. There's El Arroyo, a great place in Austin that makes barbecue chicken enchiladas. Really good stuff. They have a new owner now. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. Kill the yeah, but typically no, it's not barbecue flavored, but it's very spicy and delicious. Kill the Stigma podcast, Christian Morales says the problem is the more evidence, the more intense, the worse the controversy. Good point, Christian. Keith says definitely Greer for UFOs are. Okay. Kill the Stigma says the 60 Minutes just dropped, and I've never seen journalists so uncomfortable. Awesome. Yeah, I've been sharing the transcript of that. I watched part of it before I jumped on online. Christian says 60 Minutes interview dropped. Never seen generals so uncomfortable. Sarah says, Jack, yes, I do think it was a visitation, getting back to the beings that left the handprints in the snow. Yeah, I looked everywhere for another print and researched animal prints. Found nothing similar. That's a great sighting, Sarah. Is that your first sighting? Your first interaction, or are you an old hand at NHI interactions? Hans Gruber, great name, says, what good can come from telling people that NHI can abduct and are people? Yeah. Well, Hans, that's what I just said a few minutes ago. You may have missed it. I said that absolutely, when we're talking about UFO disclosure, that's not what we should lead with. And we, save that for later down the line. Yeah, 100%. But don't lie about it. Apex says, hi. Hey, Apex. Don says, my brother met him and says his ego is as big as a house. Yeah, Stephen Greer. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Christian says, Greer just has a horrible personality with an ego and he thinks he has all the answers, which I hate. I know. Yeah, I agree. If you don't know an answer, just say, I don't know. I love it when people say, I don't know. But Greer doesn't do that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know a lot. But I research. If I don't know, I try to find out. Christian says CE5 made the Phoenix Lights happen. Also, Greer time traveled and caused the 1952 Washington flyover. Definitely. Sarah says, sway the algorithm by giving this channel a thumbs up and a subscribe. I like it. Han says, how do you disclose the hybrid program to the average citizen? Why would that be a good idea? Yeah, you may not have seen my discussion on that. I completely agree that official disclosure should probably be in bite-sized chunks. I've heard about the 7-year plan. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but yeah, acclimatize people to the UFO subject. Talk about crash retrievals. Talk about reverse engineering. Declassify some older files. Some of that is going to have bodies like Roswell. There's, maybe even a survivor of that crash, so you can get slowly into that subject. Yeah, we're not just dealing with craft. There are beings. Then you can slowly get into the whole UFO thing with the general audience. Save the abductions and the hybrids and the, the woo-woo stuff for a little bit later down the line. Completely agree with you. Those who are motivated to research it can find that stuff out. But for the general audience, yeah. Let's see. Morgan 696 says Greer might have psychoses for yelling all these years, but now is being looked at. So even if true, and a little crazy. Okay. Hey, John Ramirez has joined the chat. Hey, John. He says, I really hate using normalization of the term czar. This is America. Are you going to change our title to prime minister? Oh, a good point, John. Czar does sound very warlike, doesn't it? but it's used in other capacities. So it wouldn't be the first time using the word czar. It just means somebody that's in charge of a certain issue. But absolutely, we could come up with a better name for that. Yeah, Sheila says Denny Chortle. Han says the average person is not ready for disclosure. I would disagree with that. I think it's time. It's past time. And one of the reasons it may not be ready for disclosure for a lot of people is because they have been brainwashed for 70 or 80 years. At least since the 50s, that's when the CIA started planting people in the newsrooms. But it probably began before then. I mean, obviously it began before then with Roswell. Day two, they were BSing, right? So yeah. And it's not like they told anybody when they got the Mussolini UFO in 44 to 45. So yeah, they've been concealing this and lying about it for forever. And they've been brainwashing the public, actively brainwashing the public to turn this into a fringe topic all these many years. So if people aren't prepared for it, it's because they have been conditioned not to be prepared for it. And they need to be unprogrammed, deprogrammed, time to deprogram the public. That's what I say. Anyway. Julie Reason says Greer and all others sitting on info need to just disclose everything. If disclosure happens from the ET side, all their info they're sitting on is then moot. Yeah, the ETs may beat them to the punch. You never know. Obviously, if the phenomenon wanted disclosure, we would have disclosure. Now, what could be going on is a soft organic disclosure where they're showing themselves to more and more people. They're pressuring governments by shutting down airports and stuff, and waking up more and more people on an individual basis as well. So that could be what we're looking at is the UFO phenomenon itself, giving us disclosure in a softer, organic way, so that we don't freak out. A grassroots, bottom-up disclosure instead of a top-down, my fellow Americans, we are not alone sort of disclosure. I think that may be what we're looking at, but I guess we'll know in a few years, when they, this is going to be a process. So we'll see. We'll see if that plays out. Don says, I think Travis Walton did an interview on a news channel today. Oh, cool. I'd like to see from Travis. I'd like to hear what he has to say. I've heard that he's more positive than he used to be about some of his stuff. Brent Cooper says, hey, Cosmic, do you think Trump has been flipped on disclosure? That is a great question, Brent. I really don't know. I mean, before he was sworn in, he was telling people that he would disclose, that he needed to disclose. He says, I have to do it. Which seemed really encouraging. Now, one of the first things that was accomplished in his administration, and apparently with his blessing and likely cooperation, is this declassification task force. And apparently the impetus for this task force was UFO disclosure. But then they glommed some other stuff onto it, and that may have taken center stage. We'll see if we can get back to the originating topic, UFOs. So it's possible that Trump was on this and is aiding and abetting UFO disclosure in what he can do. But I think that it's likely that he has been read into the UFO topic and that he is now obligated to lie about it. But he can encourage others, like the bipartisan people in the task force, to push disclosure and to declassify stuff. So I think we're going to have to look for disclosure from Congress. I don't think we're going to get it from the executive branch. All we need is the executive branch's cooperation. All we need is when Anna goes to him and says, hey, I want to declassify these files, all he's got to do is stamp that bad boy, So yeah, let's hope that he can do that. Biden was able to sign the NDAA that contained the UAP disclosure amendment into law. So I'm hopeful that means Trump can sign an order to declassify stuff. But yeah, we'll find out. But that's a great question. Great question. Christian says we can't shoot them down. Somehow our weapons don't work and get some sort of EMP. That's a great point. I've heard they've used multiple types of weapons on the mystery drones, including energy weapons. I don't know if any of them have had any effect. If so, they haven't told us about it, but they haven't told us anything. We know they have one of these items in their possession. They haven't told us jack, right? I would know, right? But yeah, they haven't told us anything about that mystery drone that uh, crashed, apparently. They didn't say they brought it down. They say it crashed in one of the military bases. I forget which one it was. If you remember, let us know. Von Devon says the world is surrounded with plenty of satellites, so they know. Yeah, I mean, they have so much data on these UFOs from the satellites, and they are not telling us about it, are they? Great point. Sarah says, could be from that sighting, kind of like a confirmation that yes, they are here. Yeah, okay, yeah. Sarah's own personal experience, this personal revelation or display for her contact with Sarah. That is really cool. That's really good. She had a sighting, and then she had what might be NHI handprints in the snow in front of her house. Very cool. Um, some people might be alarmed by that, but I think it's pretty cool. I had not a handprint left in the yard, but I had a I hope that didn't make a big banging noise. Oh, but I had a handprint on my head. I was in a CE5 event. This was our second CE5 that our group did. And the previous time, multiple people were having these amazing experiences that were kind of like half out of body experiences, where these beings of light were interacting with them. And my Reiki instructor, who I had asked to kick it off, this meditation session and contact session, and I'm really glad she did. Well, she said that, yeah, she was able to see everything that was happening and what people were experiencing. And she was able to tell them afterward, what she believed was happening. And she knew what was happening. And they were the Reiki beings, because there are other dimensional beings that will come in during Reiki and participate in the healings. And so during the second, I didn't see any of that. I was just gathering their accounts individually after the CE5, and none of them were aware of what each other were experiencing. They were all telling me the exact same thing, totally corroborating each other's account. Amazing stuff. All of them interacting with these beings of light, these healers, and these other dimensional healers. So the second CE5, I say, wow, I want to interact with those guys. And I had asked Bonnie, my Reiki instructor, to lead us again, because we had such an amazing contact the first time. And so I'm expecting the Reiki beings to come through during the meditative phase of that CE5. And, I'm not feeling anything. So I say, well, Reiki beings, if you're there, can you say hello? I didn't get any action last time. Give me some action. And a warm handprint, not like a physical handprint, but like an energetic handprint felt on my forehead right there. Really, really super cool. Just letting me know, yep, Jack, we're here. Hi, how you doing? that was all I experienced during that session, although other people did experience other stuff. Sadly, however, not a reoccurrence of those beings of light. They had other experiences. They're getting poked and prodded by stuff. So yeah, and Bonnie was able to see what was going on, and she said, "Yeah, there's this group of beings that are here." Afterwards, she told us this, and they are not wanting to interact with us directly. So they have sent this other being that she described as this black clicking being, which sounds really scary, but she said it actually wasn't, to kind of interact with us. And that's what people were experiencing by being poked and prodded. It actually interfaced with her directly. Yeah. Anyway, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, so you get different experiences in CE5, but yeah, that was my handprint experience. Let's see. Dusty says, nice. UAP 369 says, is there anyone posting videos of the UAP I can subscribe to? Well, sure. Peter Maxwell Slattery. I highly encourage you to go check out his channel. He has his place in Australia, Jaya Sanctuary, and he does CE5s out there. I've had him on the channel. He's this incredible experiencer that has otherworldly and other dimensional contacts. I also really highly recommend the documentary about him, Multidimensional, that you can get on Amazon. Great documentary. His experiences have been remote viewed by over 40 remote viewers. One of the most amazing remote viewings they did was of the Merkava vessel that he got on video, this amazing shimmering vessel of light. And they remote viewed it and saw that, it was an other dimensional vehicle. It didn't come from our reality. It's manifested in our reality. And the beings aboard it were other dimensional beings. Incredible stuff. Peter's awesome. And he has a whole bunch of CE5 videos up on his channel. So just do a search for Peter Maxwell Slattery. Then, of course, there are plenty of others. Go look for Chris Bledsoe, John Bell, Real Florida UFO. All of them have lots of UFO contacts. Let's see. Don says, I want full disclosure. I want to know what the F is going on. I can't move forward without the knowledge. Me too, man. I want to know. I want to know. Hey, Samuel Stanley said, howdy, Jack, my friend. Howdy, Samuel. How's it going? Samuel is an experiencer too, who has had some cool experiences. Sarah Maddie says, I'm considering regression hypnosis to find out more about the visit I had when I was 13. Well, if you do undergo hypnosis to recall those memories, I hope you let us know. I can either encourage people to do it or not. A lot of people that are hypnotically regressed recall wonderful things. I mean, people have been, recall learning about chakras and energy and healing and, fantastic stuff, learning about their star family, all sorts of amazing things that they've recovered under hypnosis. But some have traumatic experiences that they would have rather not recovered. So, I can either push anybody forward or pull them back. But if you do go forward with it, I'd love to hear what you experience or if you want to share. Jackson says, looks to me the NHI have taken disclosure out of the government hands with so many sightings. Time's ticking away before we all 100% find out who they are. Man, I hope you're right. Don says, I have been contemplating this hard for 15 years. What have you come up with, Don? What do you think? Sam says they are afraid to tell everyone that some of the aliens are biblical. I don't know if I agree with the interpretation of biblical, but I remember your experience. I know what you're talking about. And hell, I've had my own Jesus experience. So, I mean, I think when I think of biblical and religion, I think maybe that's what was built around, an underlying spiritual metaphysical reality, but that's just my take on it. So I don't like to think of it in religious or biblical terms. I try to look at, what that may have been created around, but that's just my own personal take, man. Anyway, but good point there. I think we are dealing with something much more complicated than nuts and bolts stuff. 100%. Han says NHI doesn't think humans are ready by and large. Okay. I gotcha. Enlarge was one word, but okay. I gotcha. Dennis from Enlightened Executive says Channel 12 Phoenix interview of Travis Walton. Awesome. Thank you, Dennis. He sent it to me. I appreciate that. Dennis always sends me great stuff. He helps me. He helps hook me up with great interviews. Really love Dennis, and I hope to bring him on in the near future because he's a really interesting guy with some amazing experiences and wisdom to share. And he may be about to do some interesting stuff that maybe y'all would like to hear about. Sarah says, yes, Jack, I'd say I'm old hand at this fringe UFO esoteric stuff. Been studying it since I was 11. Cool. Chronicle Kodak says, hey, Cosmic Road, can you tell us about your ayahuasca retreat? My most recent ayahuasca retreat. Let's see. Okay, should I get into that? I guess I should probably make a standalone video about that. But okay, so it was really cool. Yeah, so I have gone to 19 ceremonies now. There's people that have been to hundreds or thousands of these things, but I am shamans, but some people have been to a lot of ceremonies. But yeah, my career in ayahuasca is now old enough to vote. Yeah, I love it. 19 ceremonies. Very cool. This retreat that I just went to we actually had, I didn't realize it when I was going into it, we had a celebrity shaman. He's a Gaspar who is actually from Mexico, not Peru, which is interesting, although he is Shipibo, and his brothers are all shamans. His dad's a shaman, much like my original shaman, Carlos, although he was from Peru. But yeah, from this lineage of shaman is, it's the family business. But with Gaspar, yeah, like I say, he's a celebrity shaman. He's been around the world. He was the shaman for James Cameron, director of Avatar, Titanic, Terminator, Aliens, some of the best movies from when I was growing up. The Abyss, love The Abyss. But yeah, during the filming of Avatar, James Cameron sat with Gaspar, meaning he went to a ceremony with Gaspar, an ayahuasca ceremony, 8 times during the making of Avatar. Kind of explains some of Avatar, right? Pretty cool. I actually appreciate Avatar more knowing that. But yeah, so Gaspar, I guess, is uh, well known among certain circles and is well regarded. And it was an amazing retreat. I had very hard nights the first 2 nights because of my hypoglycemia. I continually struggle with this. Like on Saturday, we ate at noon, and then you're not supposed to eat after lunch. Usually it's at 2 o'clock until the ceremony, and we took the medicine at 8 and kicked in about 9. And all I had during that intervening time was a couple of spoonfuls of honey about an hour before the ceremony, in an attempt to deal with my hypoglycemia. But it wasn't enough, and it was a really hard night for me Saturday. Saturday was brutal. It was bad. Even though I had some snacks available, it was not enough once that kicked in. Yeah, and finally I was just shoveling spoonfuls of honey in, and it was actually kind of a beautiful moment. When I'm having this crisis, I'm having all these hallucinations and stuff, this hypoglycemia, and I'm about to pass out. And I go in the bathroom and I'm just shoveling spoonfuls of honey, and life returned to me. My body's relationship with sugar, because I am extremely hypoglycemic. And it was kind of a beautiful moment when life returned to me. It was a magical experience. Friday was also very challenging, but Sunday, I had an amazing experience. It was an amazing journey. I felt connected to the universe and myself. I had deep insights. I was just really vibing with it and just in the medicine. And it was just a lovely and powerful experience. And I wish I had 3 nights of that instead of one. But you would think that after 19 ceremonies, I would have kind of figured this whole hypoglycemia thing out. But eating at noon instead of 2 kind of threw me off. And anyway, no excuse. Got to take better care of myself. And then next ceremony. And there definitely will be another one. Let's see. JK says, what has happened, Trump? He has clammed up on the UFO subject. Yeah, he has. He has. Flotilla says, Jack's eyes are fire. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Probably talking about the reflection, right? Miss Tanny says, did you have visions? Well, I had some hallucinations. They were unpleasant the second night. I don't get a lot of visions. I mean, I've had the light show once or twice. Mainly one time I had the light show. A lot of people are prone to visions. In fact, I guess most people have visions under the medicine. I am not one of them, but it allows me to go into deep meditative states and even have contact experiences and spiritual experiences like my Jesus experience that was later corroborated by not just one UFO, but 2 UFOs. When I was sober, a month later. So yeah, and I've had an amazing healing, a physical healing that happened for me during a ceremony, actually my first ceremony. I've had amazing, powerful experiences with the medicine, even though I normally don't have visions. But most people do. In fact, one of about 3 retreats ago, it was really cool because some people have shared visions. This was cool. Okay, so there are these two guys next to me. their visions, their journey, once the medicine kicks in, starts off the same way. They both see this stone wall full of skulls and bones, and both have the same reaction to it, which is that it doesn't scare them. If I saw a bunch of bones and skulls and a stone wall, I'd be a little nervous. They weren't nervous at all. Now they had different responses to it. One of them just walked right by the wall and kept on going, and they had a fantastic and beautiful, like a sci-fi trippy experience, where they had come into it very fearful, and they came out of it full of joy and awe. He said that his eyes were sore from looking at all the stuff. He had come out of it with sore eyes from looking at all the amazing stuff in his journey. The other gentleman who also saw the skull and bone stone wall, his attitude was to break through the wall. And then on the other side, his real journey began. And there was this crystal palace, and it all had to do ultimately with him realizing he had never mourned the death of his ex-wife. And it was a very powerful journey for him. And he had a pain in his side that he realized that all these years was caused by that. And so he was able to come to grips with that and to hopefully lessen that pain and to deal with that. So an amazing journey for him. But both of them saw the same thing when they started out on their journey, this shared vision or something. Really, really wild when that happens. I remember one time during a ceremony, the shaman Carlos was bringing us up to sing us songs, and he was singing songs to each to two people. Like, he would bring us up in pairs, and he would sing us the song, in Icaro, one of the medicine songs, and just for us too. So, and he'd do that. And so when it was my turn, me and this lady, we went up there and we're sitting in front of him, and he's singing us the song, and I'm like, bobbing my head, and I'm into it, just, really, really loving it. But she is just weeping and weeping and weeping and just really crying. And I realized, well, that's just part of her process. You can't interfere with that. But I'm sending her love. I just send her love and love and love and support. Right. And the next day she comes up to me and she says, "Jack, were you sending me love?" She could feel it when I was doing it. So yeah, and there's amazing things that are possible under the medicine, connects you. And it's a shortcut. Ideally, we could all do this stuff without that. But it is a shortcut. And some of us, may, like me, have a hard time getting there without that. Although I have had some amazing sober experiences as well. And I'm sure many of you have as well. But yeah, the Mother Aya is amazing. Let's see. Sarah, following up on her experiences. And by the way, I'm going to cut this short in about 5 minutes. So if you have any burning questions, get them in now. If you really want me to see them, I'll leave that super chat or super thanks, because it will appear in bold on my screen. But Sarah, following up on her experience, says, thank you so much, Toxic Fart. But I lost Sarah's. Where'd Sarah's question go? I want to shoot. Okay, well, all right, Toxic Fart, thank you so much. He says, Jack, Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters, E.T., all based on alleged real events. Also executive producer of Men in Black 2. There is an egg-shaped UFO at the end. Yeah, I forgot about the egg-shaped UFO at the end of Men in Black 2. I didn't realize that. But yeah, it is eerie how much Steven Spielberg seems to know. It really is. He claims not to be an experiencer himself, but just look at E.T. How similar does that look to a Nazca mummy? And it's crazy. It's crazy that could be a coincidence, right? Even to the telescoping neck, because there's evidence that the little guys, the little Nazca mummies, they may have had telescoping necks, shockingly similar to E.T., right? Tridactyl, telescoping necks, shape of head. It's nuts. It's nuts that that could be an accident. It really is. And of course, close encounters, there's so much really good research that went into that. It's accurate in many respects. Even the paranormal sort of activity that he was depicting. And having a Jacques Vallée character, that was cool. Loved it. Yeah. Steven Spielberg, he's either got great intuition or just does great research, or he's inexperienced and he's trying to get some information out. I don't know. Really looking forward to his new movie about disclosure. Can't wait. Interestingly, David Grush is serving as a consultant, not on the Steven Spielberg movie, but on the Jerry Bruckheimer movie, if I'm remembering correctly. That's interesting. I'm kind of surprised David isn't involved in the Spielberg movie, but I don't think he is from my information, but correct me if I'm wrong. James says, what do you think about the hypothesis that disclosure would trigger a reset of the human experiment because people would not behave normally if they knew they were being watched by NHI? Well, that is a great question. I don't think the phenomenon would be slowly trying to wake people up if that were the case. I think it is. Letting it be seen by that news crew that I showed you, I think it is trying to gradually wake us up. I think that if there were negative consequence to that, they wouldn't do it. But you have a good point. It is good to think about these things. Look before you leave, right? But I don't think that's what's going to happen. Honestly, I think the phenomenon does not want to overtly disclose. Obviously, they could have done that a long time ago if they wanted to. They haven't done it. They could disclose anytime they want. Just do a Phoenix lights in the daytime, over a major city or multiple major cities. Of course, that would probably freak people out. Talking about freaking people out, probably better to do it a little bit, under the radar. But good question. Let's see. Yeah, Miss Tammy says he knew something. Yeah, Spielberg. He's got to, right? Yeah. Toxic Fart says, I think Steven Spielberg is getting fed info. Gotta be. UAP 369 says, Chris Bledsoe, Jake Barber, Easter eggs. Okay, I missed some of your comment. And Sarah Maddie says, I'm 59 now and probably had a dozen sightings since I was 5. Very cool, Maddie. Yeah, if you do get hypnotically regressed, I would love to know about your memories of that because that's really neat. Vaughn Devon says, have you heard about this higher consciousness goal of 1%? Get that amount of people for an awakening. Yeah, I've heard that. And, there have even been some suggestion that if you get enough, if you just get a certain percentage of people in like a small town meditating on good thoughts and positive energies and higher vibrations, you can actually like lower the crime rate of a town. I don't know if that's true, but I would love it if that were true. But yeah, I think that if you could get enough people resonating with the phenomenon and interacting with it, you could probably stimulate some sort of disclosure or something. I would love to see that experiment done. Geraldine says, I have experienced paranormal things, but no UFOs yet. Well, if you want to experience UFOs, I hope you get that chance. I encourage you to do CE5. Again, I encourage you to bring someone along that can interact with energies and can see stuff, and that kind of knows what's going on and how to call in the beings of the highest vibration. That may sound woo-woo, but we're talking about psychically interacting with the beyond here. So it's already kind of woo to start with. Troy says, are NHI software moderators in our simulation? Could be. I'm not a big simulation person, but I do think this reality is created, but not necessarily in a digital way. Rainstorm Hunter says, that will be great to see more C5. Sarah says, I will definitely share if I do, Jack. It's a matter of finances. Yeah, I got to go to the psychologist and get regressed and all that kind of stuff. Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well. I hope you're able to get the finances and that it goes really well and that you discover some amazing stuff. Dusty says, I was as sober as a judge when the kitchen RV light switches went flick in tandem. physical slider switches moved by themselves. So yeah, paranormal experience experienced by Dusty. Thank you for sharing, Dusty. Yeah, I've had multiple paranormal, metaphysical, spiritual experiences, and I've had a few, I guess, 4 or 5 UFO experiences. Um, um, depending on how you count them. Anyway, but I think I'll call it a break for today, guys. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all your awesome questions. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. It's so cool to have such a great community like you. I just really appreciate it. Again, thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys have a great night. And like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have a video for you guys tomorrow morning. So yeah, go and have a great night, guys.